If you've ever felt like trying to figure out God's call in your life is like a huge cosmic game of hide and go seek, and right now you're hiding behind some curtain in your house thinking to yourself, I don't know what to do with my freaking life, then this episode may just be for you. I'm sitting down with a good friend, Luke Newton, and just talking about his journey from being like a traditional worship pastor guy to being an online marketing whole. It's a crazy journey. I think you're going to be really encouraged. And I think maybe be given some permission to just take a breath and follow what Jesus is inviting you into. Let's get into it.
Created on purpose and for purpose.
Hey, welcome back to the Daron Earlewine podcast. Daron Earlewine, your host. Stoked to have you back. And let's just start with some gratitude, right? I want to thank you for downloading this episode, A. B, if you have subscribed to either the YouTube channel, the Spotify channel, the Apple Podcast channel, or some podcast platform that I've never heard of. Thank you so much. And we appreciate that. It's so great to watch the podcast community growing. And right off the bat, I tell you guys this all the time, but I really mean it. Love to hear from you. You can always email me, Daron at DaronEarlewine.com. Sitting down today, old friend to me, new friend to you, and Luke Newton. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Luke, we're going to have a stellar conversation. I'm stoked about it. And it's interesting because you and I have become pretty close friends over the past year, but our lives have been intersected for like a long time, like because of our kids. So you got 3 kids, I got 3 kids.
We do.
So your oldest is a year younger than my oldest.
He is.
Our middles are the same, and our youngest are the same. And so probably, like in my brain, I can remember us, like, did Silas play, he went to HHH not with Cole, didn't he? Did he go to HHH?
He did go to HHH.
Did he played junior high football.
He did.
Did he play basketball too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we were sitting around each other in all kinds of sports.
That's true. Yeah. It's strange to think that our orbits were so close together, but we didn't really have a chance to get closer as friends.
Like I knew who you guys were, and like we're going to talk about your story, and like it was kind of like, I think that Luke guy, like I think he's like a ministry guy, but I don't know, or I'm not exactly sure what's happening, whatever. And so it was just funny that, like you said, we orbited around each other for years and just recently have kind of connected. But over the past year, what I think is funny is you've been in my discipleship huddle this year. And so getting to know more of your story, what I think is funny is how many similarities there are to like the life that we both grew up living.
It's uncanny how similar it is, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I would not have expected that.
So let's go there. Let's go get in the time machine. I think it's funny. And some of it is, I don't know if it's like if you grew up around church in like the 80s, if everybody just had the same thing. But I think it's weird. I have some friends where like, I'll go to their like parents' house or whatever, and they have the same like iron. They have the same like Tupperware cases or like bowls and stuff. And like, even like, and maybe everybody in the 80s had the same like Rubbermaid, like, tea pitcher or whatever. But it's like you get around somebody who has been kind of in that same ecosystem. And you're like, okay, you were in Texas. I was in Arizona. This guy's in Indiana. But like, I think we were in parallel universe.
Very much so. I think, I'm trying to think of some of the details of that, whether it's Carmen, we had talked and commiserated over listening to Carmen and that being one of the only things we could listen to.
Yeah. PJ, you listen to Carmen, right?
Sure.
Sure.
Coop, you know about Carmen, right?
Blood can save.
I mean, talk about the champion. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, come on.
It's Friday, but Sunday's on the way.
Dude, Satan bite the dust.
Oh, come on.
Come on. A2J. I mean, come on. Come on with it. People are like, what? They're nerding out now on their
Listen, if you don't know what we're talking
Christian
about in Carmen,
culture.
It's time for a Google search.
Oh, my. Yeah.
You think he's still on Spotify? You think he's out there probably?
I bet he is.
Is he dead?
Did
he die?
I think he did.
R.I.P. Carmen.
Tragically.
Tragically.
Yeah.
Anyway, Carmen. Yeah. So anyway, let's fill in the blanks. Not just about Carmen. Take us back, kind of the Luke Newton story. Back in the Carmen. There he is, right there, still on Spotify.
He is. He lives on.
Easy search. You know what? We're kind of joking about Carmen, but
he was the real deal, dude, to be honest. He did free concerts.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even charge for his concerts.
Well, and it was like, kind of hokey Christian's 80s stuff, but kind of not. And then I wasn't really with him when he kind of dabbled into like, I'm going to do some rap kind of stuff. But to like tip your hat to him, kind of like on the front edge of adopting innovative ideas.
Well, you could say the likes of like DC Talk were a product of the pioneering that he did in the industry a little bit, right?
Probably
as
true.
far as, he brought it mainstream as far as live concerts.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, innovating a little bit on the genre bending a little before that was even a thing.
Dude, I think it was 1984. And we were at this youth conference it was Chicago 84. And I had just turned 7. I think the maths with that. And Carmen was the concert that night. Mm-hmm. And I like started feeling kind of sick and got kind of tired and like told my parents like, you should probably go to bed early. And like, so I did. I went back to the hotel room. I went to bed early because I was getting sick, maybe, I don't know, and missed the Carmen concert. And I remember being so bummed about that I've never seen him in concert. And so I think it was that I made a promise to myself that I would never miss a concert again if I was ever sick or whatever.
Wow.
I should have pushed through.
Man, it's funny. I even have a Carmen concert story because he was coming to my town, Abilene, Texas, where I was born.
Yeah.
And it was going to be fantastic. I'd been listening to him for a couple of years, and I was like, this is going to be awesome. Dude gets laryngitis, has to cancel the concert.
Really?
Yeah. It was. I'm like, who gets laryngitis?
You know what?
I didn't even know what laryngitis was at the time.
Same thing happened to me. So Stryper was my favorite band forever. Still love Stryper. And they hadn't come to Phoenix like ever. And then finally, like we're old enough to go to shows and Stryper's coming and I'm so fired up. Get tickets. Can't wait. I'm going to see my heroes in person. Michael Sweet, the singer, gets laryngitis. Cancel the show.
Oh.
Then like 2 years later, something else random happens. Then maybe in high school, whatever. Do you remember, were you into Stryper?
Not much.
All right. Well, they had this album called Against the Law where they, started to get a little bit more edgy. They were working through their faith. And not my favorite album, but they were coming through Phoenix on that tour. And then something happened where like they kind of like broke up or they canceled the tour or whatever, and it got canceled. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like 3 strikes and you're out, Stryper. I can't see you live in concert. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. But
I was going to say, but we have doubled down on Carmen and some of that music scene.
Let's talk about David Meese. How about
90s.
that? Maybe Petra. I mean,
Petra.
You want to throw one out, PJ? A good 80s, Christian, very little known artist.
You're older than me, so.
Hey, you know what? We don't need to start like that.
We start talking 90s Christian rock.
Okay. What about White Cross? You know anything about them?
No.
Oh. Bride. Ooh, that was a good like metal Christian band. You don't strike me as like an early Christian metal guy. Luke.
I couldn't. No, I was trying to. My folks growing up, it was very much. Here's the things you can listen to, and they were very well meaning, but it was pretty limited. Carmen and Amy Grant was about the start of those things.
Was that Steve Green?
Steve Green couldn't even do Steve Green. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He just went on the radar, so that wasn't an option for me.
It's interesting. I will tip my hat to my folks is somehow, and they were, pretty conservative. We were, pastors' kids or whatever. But I don't remember. I wrote about it in my book of the day Damon and I found the Stryper tape, and we were like, yes, we have to have this. My parents were like, whoa, a lot of makeup and hair and earrings and spandex, and I don't know how we convinced them they were legitimately Christian. Because it's like now you do a Google search and be like, no, look, this is 1980 something. Somehow over the next like months, we convinced them and they let us get the Stryper tape. I did say tape.
Mm-hmm.
But then they were pretty cool with, if they were in the realm of kind of Christian, we could basically listen to anything. And then I don't think they know these details. I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but there was somewhere around like 5th or 6th grade in Arizona where West Coast gangster rap really took off, like NWA, all these guys. And my parents had no idea that we had maybe they did. We had a drawer in my brother's room.
Secret drawer.
Yeah, where we hid all of the explicit lyrics tapes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, see, I got an MC Hammer tape once. Went and bought it. And then my mother said, I need to listen to that to just make sure the songs. So she gave the whole thing a listen and came back to me and said, these are the 4 songs that you can record to another tape and listen to. I said, so I don't even get to listen to the tape I bought? No, there's too many things on there that you shouldn't be listening to.
Really?
So that was a bit of the
so you're saying
of my environment.
You were kind of ahead of the curve of making your own mixtapes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go there. Let's go there. Out of necessity, I was forced to be a pioneer of mixtaping. No,
so Texas was the origin.
Texas is the origin.
Give us a little.
It is the origin spot. Yeah, great. So, my folks are born and raised Texan as well. They had been there in one town, Abilene, Texas, where I was born, and that's where all of my grandparents were there. We actually lived across the street from one set of grandparents, and they had a little farm, and man, what a great childhood to just wake up and roll across the street and, ride in the pickup, go check on the livestock. It was going to school was almost like a tragedy for me because I got really close with my grandfather in those times. And my dad was a Methodist, small denomination Methodist pastor.
Okay.
And then
was he the first pastor in your guys' family?
He was. Yeah, he was. And yeah, he went to a small college there in Abilene called McMurray University. And I think he went to SMU for some seminary. And then came back and was a pastor there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was the church in Abilene was like the first. It's an evangelical Methodist as the denomination. Okay. And I think that was the first original church was launched there. And then it, as the years went on, I think it was in the 50s or something, but then it expanded and it became nationwide as a denomination. But that holds a special place. And he had some of the original books of the founding pastor. J.H. Hamlin was that guy's name. And so it's real important to my dad for that. But so
you're in Texas, you're growing up, you're loving the farm, hanging out with grandpa, doing the whole thing. Dad's pastoring a small church?
Very small.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So check. Our lives are still spot on.
Spot on.
What was the dream for little Luke Newton? Like, up until like maybe junior high, what did you think life was going to be? Just there on the farm doing the same stuff? Was it, what did you want to do?
Well, that's interesting that you say that. So the early dream in elementary school, my grandfather got I think he had a basketball goal that he had set up on the farm there for my uncles when they were boys. Yeah. And he somehow found it and just set it up. So we started playing basketball. And then I remember sitting at home and, just dusty Texas, watching March Madness. Okay. And this would have been probably around like 91 or 92. Okay. Maybe a little bit before that, but watching like Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley, like that whole, and Dan Hurley, like, cause they were, competing teams in those days, the brothers. And so that whole saga, just getting drawn into that. And I'd get so inspired and I'd go outside and just run laps around the house and go over, shoot some buckets. And I'm like, I love basketball. Like I just, the commercials even were inspiring me. I'm like, what is going on? But so I dreamed about basketball, like at a really early age. And some of it was at that time, we lived like a little bit outside of town. So it was a more rural community. The school that I went to was the same school my mom went to for elementary school. Really? Yeah. It was still around. And it was kindergarten through third grade was that school. And I think there were 5 kids in my class. At that point, we're talking about
small,
very small, rural Texas, small, and so basketball teams and basketball itself, I just had a dream. I didn't even have, And then of course came along the Michael Jordan "Come Fly With Me" videos. Oh yeah, oh my word! I think my brothers and I literally destroyed that tape watching it over and over again. Oh, yeah. We wore it out, because we were so stoked on just that whole the whole vibe of Jordan and everything that the video, portrayed him at his life at. What was the line? Chicago was his. And you're like, whoa, this guy's a king, man. Like, that's what I want to be. I just dreamt about it. That was where my dreams took me, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
So did you actually play in school and stuff?
I did, yeah.
Were you any good?
I was okay. Yeah, I was okay. But I mean, there was a lot. Well, we moved out to Odessa when I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
And Odessa is it's oil country. It's flatter than flat, and there are 0 trees. There's a whole town called No Trees, Texas.
Really?
Which, yeah. It's so flat out there, you could watch your dog run away for 3 whole days.
That's a good Texas joke right there.
Yeah.
It's a good Texas
For real.
joke.
I had to get one in there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my dad would. Good job, son. Good job, son. But that's it's a strange culture too, with basketball and rule and farming, and the synthesis of those things didn't really jive a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. But I made a go of it, and yeah, I enjoyed playing basketball and played in high school, and yeah.
So as you're going up junior high school, you're obviously the pastor's kid. Enjoyed being a pastor's kid, or was that bad?
Both, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can relate to the idea of you're known by everybody in the church. Mm-hmm. So it kind of gives you instant rapport, which you enjoy, but then all the eyes are on you. Mm-hmm. So and I've got 2 brothers, John and Mark. So I don't know where the order came from. My parents probably couldn't tell you, God bless them. They probably couldn't tell you.
They could have had a Matthew.
Well, the order's already whack, and I don't know. I couldn't tell you what was. I think that it was a great idea, like in afterthought, like in hindsight. Oh yeah, sure, let's go with John and Mark, and so yeah, I was the oldest, and it just brings having 3 boys, especially. I mean, you can relate to this as well.
To this, yeah.
In ministry, just the eyeballs that are on you, on your sons.
Yeah.
That was the struggle my parents had, and we were pretty rambunctious as boys.
Normal kid growing up, rambunctious boys, fine. But as you look back on that version of yourself, did you feel like, man, I really did have like an authentic faith? At least I thought I did there. Like I had a really cool connection to Jesus, or was it more kind of like, this is Jesus stuff, but we have to do it because I'm at church because my dad works here? I
mean, it was a bit of a blend of those things. Probably more the side of obligation, the side of I've got to toe the line on this role as the pastor's son and all of that, and we certainly endured some discipline from my parents based on our behaviors. As well, Dad became a district superintendent, which meant he traveled to all the churches in Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. So we're, in the car traveling with them every weekend almost for better part of 5 years. So that reputation and expectation sort of escalated and became even more important.
Well, then it's got to also become like a buzzkill. Like, hey, what are we going to do this weekend? Drive to Kansas so Dad can talk to some church.
Yeah, it was a bit of that. Now it was adventure too.
Sure,
don't get me wrong.
Sure,
we enjoyed the adventure part. But
do you guys have a station wagon?
You've seen I showed the picture to you guys. Yeah. We had the station wagon. This thing looked like a hearse. Okay. Yeah. We called it the Silver Bullet because it was total silver, tinted out windows, and it was so perfect because we're traveling so many miles. We could just my brothers and I could just crash out in the back. It had that nice, big, long area in the back we would put all the luggage in the middle seat, and we would just crash out in the back on the long trips while Dad drove.
That's the good days when you could really endanger your children's life by keeping them unseatbelted in just the back large trunk area of a station wagon.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh man, those were the days. But yeah, to answer your question, I think there were definitely moments of real genuine faith for me. And as I got into high school, that kind of morphed into worship ministry. It was kind of really a friend of mine. He was also a pastor's kid, so we commiserated a lot on that, and we played basketball together. And we started leading worship for FCA meetings at our school. Well, we started with like, see you at the pole. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we started with see you at the pole. And then we were like, hey, let's just start leading some worship for FCA. So
you'd played guitar or piano before that, or what?
I didn't really before that. Somehow I can't even remember where I got that guitar. Man, it had to have been like either a garage sale or a pawn shop or somewhere. I mean, some of the tuning keys were even missing. Like it didn't even, I had to use like pliers to tune the thing. And I learned like 3 or 4 chords.
Yeah.
And we started singing some early worship songs, you know, and then it kind of morphed. We were like, well, let's just start meeting at your church and on like Monday nights, and we'll just have like, we'll call it like the upper room. And so then we started meeting some other guys that were like better musicians on the instrumental side. But my friend and I both sang growing up, so it was like we'll be the lead singers, and then you guys back us up as the band. And we called it 3,000 Plus. It was our first foray into
3,000 Plus.
3,000 Plus from Acts, where there's
great name.
Yeah,
good. I like it.
For those days, it was pretty like, you know, forward thinking, I think.
And so this is like late high school years, or where we?
Yeah, like mid 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing that, get the 3,000 Plus, playing at his church. So at some point in here, you felt like, I think like this is God's call in my life. Yes?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Tell me that story.
I did. I felt like, I'm trying to think the timing of that, you know, probably like 96 or something. I don't remember a real clear, like, oh, I feel this is the call. It was more like, I think this direction is the call I need to move in. And worship ministry was that, leading worship was a lot of fun and was quite easy as far as the musical side. And that goes back to my mom and dad. Like they loved singing. They would, every time we would go, like I said, to those churches across 3 states, they would do a special song because she plays piano.
Oh yeah.
And so they would sing, and dad would sing the melody, and mom is great at harmonizing. So they would, and people loved that.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I didn't understand it at the time, but now I do. It was just, they were sharing their faith through song, and it was like a really neat thing to see.
Yeah.
You know, I wish, that's one thing I wish I could go back and just appreciate more, you know?
Yeah.
But I felt like this is something I feel like I could do. I didn't really have my buddy's dad was the worship pastor at their church. So I kind of knew, okay, this could be a profession that some guys pursue. And then, went and majored in that in worship leading at Asbury in Lexington, Kentucky, close to Lexington. That's where I met my wife. Old Testament class.
Nice.
Yeah. Strange story. I was actually going to, I got to school in 99. That was when I started school, fall of 99. I got there, my college roommate, great guy, still very close friends with him. He was staying with his girlfriend from back home in North Carolina. So they would talk on the phone like every night. And I should I have stayed with my girlfriend? Like, cause we kind of broke up cause she stayed in Texas at a school and it just didn't work out. And I thought, man, I feel like I started asking myself what every college freshman does. I didn't know it at the time, but every college freshman says, why am I here? What have I done?
Yeah. Especially not even if you leave that far away from home, but even if you're like an hour and a half away from home, especially if like you change states, that moment of like, where am I at? Why am I here? Like, what did I just do to my life?
Exactly. Yeah. It's all confusion at that point in the game. And that's where I was at. So I literally unenrolled from Asbury and I was going to go back home. I was looking at Texas Tech, which was 2 hours away from my hometown. So I thought, man, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go back and do that. And I had some really good friends just sit me down and say, let's talk and let's see, just explain to us. So I started unpacking and I said, you know what, this is really clear that my reasoning is really based on things that don't exist back home. There are ideas about back home, like a relationship perhaps, or closeness with my family. and it's already changed.
Yeah.
It's already changed. God's already moved you in a different direction. And I started to really see that lesson and take heart. So I said, I'm going to stay. And I stayed, re-enrolled back in Asbury, and I showed up, and I go to Old Testament class, and Kara's sitting in the back, and she's like, I thought you had left. I was like, no. So I sit down next to her, and then like, yeah. And then our story began right there, actually.
Yeah. Hey, sorry for the interruption here in the podcast, but I wanted to take this moment to invite you into something. If you've ever been at a place in your life where you've just felt stuck, you felt like maybe you're just spinning your wheels, you've been thinking, there's got to be more for me. I listen to the podcast all the time, and I hear Daron talking about on purpose and for purpose. I have to discover my purpose. Well, that feeling is right. You do need to, and I want to help you. I want to help be a guide for you to step into who God's created you to be. And that's the purpose in the design of what we do with Rogue Collective Coaching. So if you're curious, or listen, I'm not curious. I know it's time for me to take action. Here's your call to action. I want you to go to roguecollectivecoaching.com. I want you to click the button that says book a discovery call. I want you to jump on a 30-minute conversation with me. Jump on the phone. We'll talk about where you are and if Rogue Collective Coaching is your next step to help you to become who you were born to be. roguecollectivecoaching.com. Book a discovery call. I can't wait to chat with you. Let's get back to the episode. So you get from Texas to Kentucky, and obviously we talk all the time on the podcast about being created on purpose and for a purpose, and wanting to figure out, like, wanting to help our community. Maybe they're we're all in some part of that journey, right? Trying to figure that out. Some of us have figured it out. Some of us don't even know. Some of us might be, they're high school students right now being like, man, how should I pursue it? And when we talk a lot about, I believe everybody has a calling from God, right? And sometimes that calling shows up with kind of a transcendent moment, voice from God, undeniable circumstances, like, this is what God's calling me to do. Sometimes it's like, I found something that I'm talented at. I found something that I'm good at, that I enjoy. I can actually logically see a career path here. It seems like, kind of feels like there's some signposts, like, I'm just going to keep taking steps here and see if this has happened. It sounds like, from what you're saying, like you didn't have this, moment where, there was a writing on the wall, be a worship leader, Luke, right? But it was like, I'm pursuing things that give me joy. I'm pursuing things that I'm good at. Like, this has kind of been my life. It makes sense. Would you say that's kind of where you're at with that process?
Okay. Hey, that's put very well, I think, in terms of my story. It's just thinking about the idea of what is my calling, what was my calling. It's an interesting idea because, like you said, I, at least throughout points in my life, thought, well, I have to hear this audible thing, this real clear direction before I move, before I do anything about it. And looking back, it's more like what you just described. There's a whole process of just moving in something. And that is what calling really, I even thought about, it just comes to my mind, the story of Abraham, how he was called. It wasn't this, you're going to be this father figure to the entire race of Israelites. You're going to be viewed as the ultimate Israelite. And none of that was described. It was just leave, just go, and I'll be with you on the journey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what calling. I guess what I'm saying is, I've come to see calling is less about an actual moment of semi-audible hearing, and I guess it's less found than it is formed. Is how I would put it. That's what I've found to be true in my own life. Calling has been formed through my just trust and stepping out and moving forward. Like, actual action is what produces and surfaces the calling in your life. You can definitely have moments with God. I certainly had some of those, like I said, with whether it's, hey, like, we could lead worship, and you do it and you see, like, wow, I just felt I felt God moving through me, like, throwback video to back to the 80s, 90s, that movie Chariots of Fire. You remember that? Right? The story of Eric Liddell, like that feeling that God he is taking joy in moving through us in whatever it is, whether it, in my case, music, it could be teaching or preaching. It could be just working a construction job. It could be being a teacher at school, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you can sense and feel that God is finding joy from moving through your life, then you're in your calling.
I think there's a freedom in that, Luke, of like, I think what can become difficult for folks is whether you feel like you received, like, I felt like I heard God's voice, this is what I'm doing, or you didn't. Either way, that like God's plan is this fixed point in the future. The Bible says it's a narrow road. So this is a narrow, linear, fixed, straight path. And man, if I veer too much to the right or the left, I'm going to put this in the ditch. I'm going to ruin my life. God's going to be disappointed. Like, and so I think for a lot of people, it becomes a very anxious, guilt-filled, fearful, like, oh gosh, I don't want to screw it up because there's only one right path, and I got to stay consistent. And I love that picture that you're painting of like it's movement, right? It's a journey, you know what I mean? And maybe the more important thing is not getting a crystal clear picture, but just saying like, I'm going to respond to the invitations, But you did that. I mean, you go to college and you just kept responding to the invitations, but then like the journey became pretty, I'm not trying to take away from your story and you couldn't add anything, but like you kind of did follow the path of like, I'm going to be a worship leader. Like, this is kind of,
I mean, I did follow that path. And I followed it as best I could, and wound up in Florida about 2003, I think, after college. Wound up in Florida at a megachurch, Calvary Chapel, Fort Lauderdale. And at the time, they were having around 20,000 weekly attenders there.
Wow.
We do 4 weekend services and 2 Wednesday night services.
That was your first gig?
That was
your first response.
Well, after 3,000 plus.
Okay.
After 3,000 plus.
I'm sorry.
Let's not shortchange
you
that bad boy.
You upgraded to 20,000 plus.
I did. Yeah. Well, and I don't know if the number 20 is significant, but that was kind of the amount of attenders at Dad's church was 20.
20.
and then 20,000. Maybe there's something there. But anyway, yeah, it was a huge operation, and we had gotten to know the executive pastor, and they were looking to hire more just out of Christian college students. They were started a Christian school at the time. And that school is doing so well right now. I mean, they've got like, I think 3 or 4 different campuses around South Florida. They've got like 4,000 students that attend there, and their basketball team even is like nationally ranked. They're like maybe 2nd in the nation.
Wow.
Yeah, they're doing. I mean, they're just amazing kids that go to school there, and that has been such a life-giving part of the ministry of that church beyond just the weekend stuff. But massive size. I mean, and my wife Kara was on staff there as well in the family ministry, and it was a really wonderful season. And we have great friendship still, but it was so good. Like the worship was incredible there. I mean, the just the pool of talent. There was, I think, Donna Summers' sister, Mary Bernard was her name. She was on the worship team.
Wow,
phenomenal singer. And they were just amazing musicians. I got to lead worship with.
Well, I mean, looking at that, I mean, speaking in the realm of church world, like, you come out of college and go to a mega church of 20,000, like you immediately got drafted to the big leagues.
Oh yeah.
Right. So you had to be, it's funny. I'm just realizing we've been friends. I've been known you I've never listened to you. I've never seen you lead worship or heard you sing ever in my life. So, but I'm guessing, it has to be very factual. You had to be pretty good.
I was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're pursuing this thing. I'm moving, I'm responding. All of a sudden, boom, amazing opportunity. Wow. And I'm really proficient at this. And it's amazing. It's great. So many good things are happening. I'm seeing God move. We're making this thing happen. Like my wife and I are on staff. I mean, it probably had to feel in your 20s, this is it, man.
I felt invincible. I felt like I could try and do anything. I felt you feel on top of the world, but what you don't see at that age, tragically, is you don't see all the factors and the people that actually got you where you are. The relationships that mattered. You know, my friendship with that executive pastor that brought us down there to check it out, and how a friendship with him really went a long way in getting you, you know, some places that some people honestly had tried to get into the worship scene there for many years and unsuccessful. You know, and I ran a lot of those worship auditions when I was first starting out. I would audition folks for the worship team, and the standard was very high.
Yeah.
So it was lost on me a little bit, to be honest, as far as this is, it seemed easy, but there was a lot of work involved.
Yeah.
And God did give me some talent in singing, and I was very thankful for that. And I was very happy to be using it, you know, and I felt so good that I was actually using my college degree. You know, there's a lot of folks that try to figure that out and wind up in some career that's totally opposite. Yeah. And that's fine. Like, you know, they find something else that they're interested in and can contribute to. But
so how long was that season?
Oh man, that was 03 to 08, I believe.
Okay. So it
was roughly that season.
5 years there, things are going great. Then where you go?
Well, then we moved to Fishers. Yeah. First we moved up to Northwest Indiana. That was kind of the one job that we said that's where we would go if there was a job to open up. It was my in-laws' church up there. And moved up there. Everything worked out. And then as we get there, it just was not a good situation. Not a good situation at all. And a lot of turmoil within the staff. And after 10 months, I decided it's time to just, and man, you talk about questioning your calling or your direction. That was a tough season for me in that regard. And even questioning myself, to be honest. Like, am I cut out for this? And what am I thinking? And what am I doing? But we landed with, tragically, just to give you a little more color to that, was the entire staff was basically fired after we left, and the whole church kind of dissolved. It was,
really?
Yeah, it was pretty tragic. But it's funny how God works. Like, even now, there's a new church in that space that they were in, and it's growing, and it's been like helpful to the community. It's up in the Michigan City area. Okay. There's a lot of blue collar folks, and there's not a whole lot of sort of vibrant churches in that area, but there are a few, and they're doing really good work there. So I thought that would be our story. Yeah. I thought, okay, this, like I said, that felt really invincible. I can do anything. But we don't see, I think, you don't see how much was done for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For better or worse.
Mm-hmm. So it almost seems like I could see, the church kind of falling apart and dissolving and having a bunch of issues. It wasn't like God was like caught off guard on that one.
Certainly not.
Right. So
felt that way at the time.
Sure. But it seems like with the timing it all worked, that he was providential and being like, all right, Luke, you guys are going to go over here now. Like, I'm like, he didn't spare you from, I'm sure, a lot of that pain. And I'm sure it was really difficult watching, your in-laws church, like that whole thing. But, you kind of were moved on before, everything, collapsed. So that next move was here in Indianapolis.
Here in Indianapolis. Okay. Yep. 08, I think, May or something like that of 08. and we helped plant the Harvest Bible Chapel, North Indianapolis, and started meeting at Carmel High School was the first place we met. We're doing portable church in and out.
Done that?
Yeah, I'm sure you have. And that continued for like 10 years of portable church before we got into a building. And around that time, I kind of found myself in my mid-30s, and that's the age out point for worship leaders.
You're no longer the cool young guy.
No, there are much cooler, much younger guys with the same kind of skills. And you're kind of, what am I doing with my life and my calling? And yeah, those questions started to surface again. So it's time to move on. And so I moved on from that and got into tech with a mobile app company here in Fishers. And that was a really fun and interesting and challenging couple of years to pivot totally out of ministry into something that even in my own family upbringing, they couldn't really help me with. No one really, in my immediate family, with my folks, they only knew ministry. So, but it was really fruitful. And, the mobile apps that we worked with were churches, and then also tourist destinations, and eventually corporations for employee engagement. But kind of got exposure to all those markets, and it was really interesting. And at the time as well, my wife was starting to kind of get a larger following on social media.
Okay, I got to go back. We missed something.
Go back. What did we miss?
So I feel like, remember when Evel Knievel tried to jump the Grand Canyon and it didn't work out for him?
Well, man, I'll take that, I guess. I'll take that reference. But
I feel like we were having a conversation, and then you just tried to Evel Knievel over the Grand Canyon. So I'm going to come back to the Grand Canyon of, you grew up a pastor's kid. You were doing church your whole life. You pursued this move towards, worship leading. It went for how many years? 2018? So
yeah, almost 20 years of leading worship and being in professional ministry
of your life.
Yeah,
identity in that, gifting in that,
all over the place,
legacy and family in that, and then you stopped doing it. Like, I'm gonna guess it was a little bit more than, I'm the older guy, it's time to let young people take over. Like, there had to be. Because, what I'm seeing in that, and this is part of the conversation I want to have, Luke, is like, so often we confuse occupation, job, right, with purpose, with calling. Oh, you have to have this kind of job to really be responding to God's call in your life. And you had the kind of job that somebody would say, that guy's responding to God's call in his life. Look at him, leading people in worship. And he's done it for 20 years, and he's amazing, and it's great. Yeah, he's getting a little older. We'll get past that. But you got to this place where it was like, this is everything I've known since I was born. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Man, curse you for even saying it so clearly. And I hadn't thought of it all. Like, that is, and of course, don't curse you. But good grief, man. Like, that you nailed it. There was so much wrapped up in it. And even as you were just, articulating it like that, it made me think, man, I put all of the emphasis onto those roles, like my calling. Well, I have to put my calling on these things. Yeah. Excuse me. And I have to make it work because I'm called in all of these areas. And I didn't realize that until now, like just how much of the work was trying to force my calling onto all of those things and define it by those jobs, by that heritage of my family. And I don't know, it's interesting. Now I feel like I would say more importantly to me, calling would be just sensing the presence of Jesus in my own spirit, and move out from that together with him, where I had that, but it gets confused a little by all of those things.
Well, and did that shift create a little turmoil in your own personal faith? Like, wait a second, like, I have to go to church every Sunday because I work there. I've had to go to church every Sunday because I was born into it. Like, this is what we believe. This is what we have to do. We get in the station wagon. We drive all over the freaking world with Dad, and they sing, and we take care of churches. And now I'm at Asbury. Like, everything you had to do church/Jesus stuff because it was everything that your life was encompassed by. And then, like, you make a decision, you make an occupational decision, but it then unplugs you from everything you ever had to do in following Jesus. Was that a seamless transition, or was it a little bit of a rocky road?
You're wanting the real story, huh?
I want the real. You can't handle the truth, Luke.
Sorry. Oh, man. Man, my allergies have been bothering me this time of year. Hits me every time. Yes, it was a challenge, not seamless at all. Convoluted, a mess at times, very unclear at other times, at least within my own heart, in my mind, my thoughts of all of those things, and my understanding of who I was, who God was. I spent a lot of years processing throughout, unfortunately we don't get time to pull back from life, figure it all out, and then go and do it.
Yeah, it just happens tomorrow.
It just happens,
every day.
Yeah. We've got to work, we've got to earn, we've got to raise a family, all these things. And to my family's credit, they are, to my family's credit, they are the saints in the equation for sure, to put up with me through all of those things. And I'm so proud of my kids. I'm proud of my wife. And what was most challenging too, and as I think about this, I didn't understand how much they were going through that change as well.
That makes sense.
It felt so personal to me, but their journey was simultaneous in trying to figure out. I mean, I kind of felt that a little, especially with my kids. Like, it's what I described. They were the worship leaders' kids.
Yeah.
And then they weren't.
In a day.
Yeah. What does that mean? How does that direct them, and what to do with their role in social settings? Because it's the same thing with pastors' kids. You walk in a room, like, there's a pastor's kid. Oh, there's the worship leaders' kids, and staff members' kids. But I think that's true regardless, not just in ministry. I think it's true in anyone's life. When you switch a job, let's say, you're a little unclear about how much identity and purpose and calling you put onto that first job.
Yeah.
And you're already in the second job, and you're trying to sort all that out, and things just hit you in waves almost, right? There's a wave of sadness that I don't have some of those relationships, or I don't have that role, that rapport, reputation I had built up so many years, in that job. And I'm in this new job, and things are exciting, but wow, I'm at ground zero, and I'm defining a bit of who I am even to these folks, and what my role is here. And
well, I know when I left, traditional local church work in 2012, man, those next couple of years were not my best years, because it was like, Sunday, let's pray and commission Pastor Daron to leave, and then I woke up Monday and it's like, I don't have an office. I don't have a team of people that report to me. I don't have anywhere to go next Sunday. I don't have anything to preach. I don't have anything to everything I'd known for my whole professional / everything life, and this sense of like, I have responded to this call of God to be in full-time ministry, which in my brain was still like, that means you work full-time for a church. And so I remember changing that for me, it took me a while to get my hands back around like, okay, God, what counts? Does it count? Do I have to do it this way? What is this? And it's interesting because I guess in your story,
what would you tell Daron from that season if you were to advise him, like,
Luke,
from
this is
from
my
this
podcast,
perspective?
and I asked the questions.
I just had a flash to that was the Office scene where Jim slaps Dwight. We will ask the questions or whatever. That's a great scene. Anyway, sorry.
So, what would I say to me then? You mean? Or
Yeah,
what would I say to
like what would you tell Daron back then as far as, dude, think about these things, or, would there be even anything you could say to him that he would listen to?
I think so, massively. Because, and it's interesting, what I was going to say is like, it's almost like our stories were so similar at the beginning of upbringing and whatever, but like we kind of crisscrossed in the calling understanding, I think, in some ways. Is that for me, when I was 16, I had this sense where I felt, this transcendent moment at the altar at camp, like, God, I'm responding to a call to ministry. My imagination for that was only one thing. That meant local church ministry.
Yeah.
For you never had the moment where it said it, but your whole life path was there. It made sense. You were responding to a move. But then we both now have very different lives than we imagined we would at 21, 22, right? Yeah. For me, what I began to realize, and what I would say to myself is, like, the call of God is not you responding to any specific location or any specific occupation. Now, it could be contained in that. I think God is very specific enough that if he needed to, he could say, Luke, I am calling you to Odessa, Texas, to this job, to this place, and I'll let you know when that assignment is over. I think he can be that specific.
Well, there's so many people that have that certainty.
Sure.
And they come out with it like, I've been called, I've had this really clear, altar moment where God spoke almost. I was like one of the few times I heard God speak audibly.
Yeah.
And I've sort of longed for that myself. And I wish I had some of that. It seems so clear and obvious, but I don't think most people have that.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it gets that specific. I think what I would tell myself, and because of what I got to walk, since 2012, is that, like, there was a part of, I was listening to a book the other day and it was talking about to step into something new, you have to let go of the old, right? Mm-hmm. Jesus kind of said it like, we don't pour new wine in old wineskins, right? I don't think I've not even got, I think, into the zip code of how new I feel like God is leading me to go. Like, it scares me of, like, I don't even know what it looks like over there, but I think God's sending me over there. And I think what I would tell myself is, like, you've got to trust. I'm fighting myself because I'm making this to be like a cool statement. I'm not trying to make it sound like a cool statement, but
no, let it come out.
Like, you have to trust the caller more than you understand the call.
Ooh, that's it, man. See, that's what I feel I've gained in these years, and even more specifically this last year, of really drilling down as far as who is Jesus Christ. How do I truly sense his spirit in me, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than just believe that as a concept, how do you know it and become the Spirit of Christ? Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. There's a difference. That's a key difference. It seems like it might be kind of just using words to sort of say the same thing, but no, there's a key difference it's a difference, I would even say, between believing and having faith. Believing is just an assent to things that are stated, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That is a gateway to what faith is saying. And faith is acting with trust that you're moving in step with God.
That's good, dude. Yeah, that's what I would say. Exactly that. And that's what I've experienced is, like, man, I thought I knew what the call was specifically supposed to be, but the whole process, I think what God was always trying to get me to, what he's trying to get you, I think what he's trying to get all of us to is, like, listen, I need you to trust me. Just come on. Right. And Dave Gibbons taught me this, is like that everything in the kingdom is response, not initiative. And that was so helpful for me, because it's like, I'm going to take the initiative. I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. My efforts, my thought, my interpretation of what the call is. And walking through it now, I think that may be what I would say to myself back then, is like, listen, just respond. You don't know where you're going. It's okay. And listen, like, it counts. Like, and it's been my struggle for multiple iterations of like, because when I stepped away from full-time Christian ministry, it was like, oh, am I being disobedient to the call? And then it was like, I was like, no, like, just respond. And then like,
call is defined by broader.
Yeah.
It's a category. It's not those things are expressions of a call, but we make them the call itself.
Well, what I'm trying to get people to understand and have for a long time is like, I think we've done so many people a disservice, is that we only say people are called when they get a calling into ministry.
That's well said.
Yes. You're a missionary.
If you're going into ministry, then you're called.
You're called.
Otherwise,
you get a career.
Right. You get a career.
You get a
exactly
career.
Right.
So,
and your career is important, because you got to earn,
but it's not sacred.
It's not. You're right. It's not holy.
No.
And it's like, what? How is that not? There's again. I love categories. Like, words mean something to me, even more so recently. But it's, man, the idea of everyday life, the holiness of even just breathing, right? Even the incredible views and experience of nature itself. You're like, why does it feel like a cathedral when you're in a beautiful natural area? Because that's how God, he loves the beauty that he created.
Yeah.
And he's in it. So you're experiencing all those things, but even man, try this. This just hit me yesterday.
Okay.
Like, God just like hit me with this, and I'm kind of, I don't know, it's still rocking me. But the idea, God has never aged, right? We age. God has never aged. So the sort of infancy of his enthusiasm for each experience, what we feel like is an everyday mundane job, career, whatever it is, life, parenting, feels so mundane. To God's like, do it again. Wake up tomorrow and do it again.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh, I guess get me right now. But that's what.
So good, dude.
Do it again. Let me see you do it again. But man, I have tried I'm like, I've got to change. Got to make a change, because just can't do this again. Can't do this day again.
I'm going to have to marinate on that one for a minute. That's good, Luke. So yeah, and I think that can be applicable, hopefully, for everyone, in the simplicity of that, of just like, I just want to make sure I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth for what I always talk about in the podcast. I'm not trying to set people up for like failure of like, you got to understand God's call. But I think that really the simplicity of the call is Jesus's first and ever present call, which is come follow me. Right? Like, that's it. Just follow him.
Follow.
Like, and sometimes you're going to get some real specific things. Sometimes you're not. You know what I mean? And use your gifts, your abilities, your strengths, who he's created you to be, to help guide and direct that. But know that at any time, he could potentially call a pretty massive audible. And if your identity and everything you have is wrapped up in whatever that job and whatever those things were, it's going to be a pretty rocky journey. But it sounds like, if I could summarize what you said, is even in the past couple of years, what has become more and more true to you is hearing even more closely that invitation from Jesus of like, hey, Luke, just keep following me.
I think that's the key, Daron. I think you nailed it. Like, it's the idea of following and the commitment to it, the trust in it, that you will get where you need to be. It's what fixes your gaze to the direction you're moving, more so not necessarily a destination, like, oh, I've got to get to that destination and then I will have made it. More so, I get to go on this journey with Christ as my walking pal, right? As my guide through the through the wilderness here. And don't know where it's headed, but we're together. And it's a beautiful friendship, right?
Yeah.
That guides things. And then you see someone else's journey and you say, you don't really want that journey. You might say, oh, that's interesting and I like that. But in the past, what I've done is I really want that particular expression of, faith, work, ministry, whatever it is. Or I just wish I had this much money and then I'd be happy. And then I will have arrived somewhere, right? Or if I get that really good job, then I'll have perfection. Or if if I just get a different, people start that, you get that game of comparison, and it's just a losing game.
Yeah. So let's land the plane with this. So I'll fill in the blanks of the story real quick. So as you're leaving the job, your wife has a viral moment on the internet, and she's become a amazingly awesome, successful influencer online with great partnerships, and she sells everything. And my wife buys all kinds of things from your wife.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome for the money.
Sorry for all the blankets you have.
Glad I could pay you guys' mortgage last month with that fuzzy blanket we got. But and you run all of the back end of all of you guys are in this partnership. It's been amazing. It's been almost a decade you guys have been doing it.
Yeah.
And it's blessed your family wildly. It's given you influence. It's been amazing. We should have an episode where we come back and just talk about how did you partner with your wife and what that is. But now the ship has sailed about a decade out of the port of ministry. And now you're I'm not going to give you a job title. Give me
it'd be hard to do that.
See if you can't give yourself a job title right now. What would it be?
Simply put, we're online marketers.
Yeah.
And using social media, and I build marketing automations and work on back-end systems and handle finance, and I'm also the pool boy and all these things. No, we don't have a pool. We have a hot tub, which is work in and of itself. Yeah. But it's that kind of sums it up, I would say.
So you need to come up with a better job title than that and a name tag. So that's the ecosystem you're in. You've almost been doing it a decade. Do you have any sense of what the next invitation might be from where Jesus is leading you?
No, I mean, it'll be in line in a similar type direction, and unless that changes, right? And I think the other thing I would add about calling and work is that what I had done is I had viewed it so much internally as like, this is my calling. This is my ministry. This is my job. And that's what I've started to see when you shift the direction and you say, I'm not focused on I'm expressing my calling. I'm walking in it because I know Christ is next to me and in me. But it's more so, I'm engaging with people who are the calling. Ooh. The people I come in contact with. I mean, we've talked about this in our group, right? You've tossed the idea, and we don't have to go too far into this idea of people of peace meeting us. I mean, that's what the disciples did. Was they went out and they were looking for people of peace, and then if they found those people, they spent time with them. They communed with them. They strengthened one another, encouraged one another. Yeah. If someone was not a person of peace and was more antagonistic towards them or even indifferent towards them, they moved on. Yeah. No big deal. So I think some of those ideas have really shifted the direction for me where we can I'll just put it on myself. In the past, I was so myopic and so inward focused on my own calling that even the smallest thing would rattle it. It's like, what's going on? Like, I'm called. This is supposed to work out. And I missed the opportunity to really experience the joy of, no, it's these people you're with. They're the calling. They're what you're called to experience and engage with. And what you're doing with them is what the Spirit will guide you in.
That's so good, Luke. That's so good. It makes me think of the quote that I stole from Gary Smalley that I say probably in every podcast, that like life is relationships, everything else is just the details.
Absolutely.
So you could almost say it's like actually calling is relationships. Everything else is just the details.
So good. I'm going to steal that. It's really
it's
good.
Called curating. Makes you feel better about it. Luke, thank you so much for being on the podcast, dude. I think it could be fun. We should have you back and have Kara see if she'll join you.
I'm sure she would.
And just get a little bit of her story. Because the journey God's had you guys on has been wild for you, but I'm sure it's been crazy wild for her of like, I was just, online doing a fun, not a funny, but just a tutorial thing, on Facebook. And then all of a sudden it has become this massive deal.
Ironically, she grew up a pastor's kid as well. She was a pastor's kid growing up. Her dad was a pastor, and
Kara, we're gonna have Kara
ministry
on.
family. I was gonna say there's a lot of correlations, but she would definitely say that things have gone in such a direction that was unexpected. We didn't really set out to figure. She was doing Periscope lives before Facebook even had live videos. She was doing demos and trainings and things on Periscope, and then Facebook rolled out live videos, and everybody, merged over to Facebook Lives and has been doing them, for 10 years now. And just really, she's expressing her giftings and her calling. Yeah. And she has struggled with a lot of these same things, and we've had a lot of good conversations about, what does it mean to still shine the light of Christ in a more broad, or I guess you could just name it a secular type setting, which is just normal life for everybody, right? That it's those of us that have had those ministry experiences that we're the ones that have the challenge. You talk to most folks, they're like, oh yeah, I've shifted jobs like 8 times. And so of course that's common. So, forgive us if that's you guys listening, any of you, because it wasn't our experience. We had a rougher go of embracing that. Yeah. But
dude, we'll have you back on. We'll have Kara join us, and I'd look forward to the conversation. But I appreciate it, man. I've loved the past year and how our friendship's grown, and the things that I love the way that God, the way He's put your mind together. I love the questions that you ask, and I love the way you wrestle through. You've added so much to our discipleship huddle, and you've added so much to my life over the past year. And I love some of the conversations that we have had and are currently having about, I don't know, what we might create together in the future. And
definitely. I would also say, I've loved just, our friendship, but just getting a front row seat to what God's doing with your ministry and what, and all the different things that you're moving into, right? And the areas and industries you're impacting, that's on purpose. And it's been such a joy to just be a friend of yours in this season and to see that happening. Yeah, so keep pressing on.
I will. Hey, thanks for downloading this episode. If you got questions for me or you got questions for Luke, just email me, Daron at DaronEarlewine.com. Would love for you to be part of the conversation. And until we talk again, friends, remember these 3 things. God's for you, not against you. He's near you, not far away. And He's created you on purpose and for a purpose. Thanks for downloading this episode of the Daron Earlewine Podcast.